Welcome to Birthing at Home, a podcast. I'm Elsie, your host. I'm a home birth mum of 2 little boys, a doula in Melbourne supporting birth at home. I'm a mental health nurse and the co-creator of Homebirth Victoria. If you want to learn more about me, the podcast, or my work, check out www.birthingathome.apodcast. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people who are the traditional custodians of the land I'm recording on in Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. I would also like to acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have been birthing at home on country for tens of thousands of years prior to the British invasion and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded. Episode 67 is shared by Amy, who lives on Gubbi Gubbi country in Queensland. Amy shares her 2 home birth stories, which includes one in a publicly funded hospital home birth program and then her second with a private midwife. We chat about her experiences with both models, her episiotomy, and then her fear around tearing, her desire for a water birth, and so much more. Please make sure to share this episode or any others that you've listened to, whether it's with friends or on social media. I love seeing the comments on Facebook groups or leaving a rating or review. All of it helps to get the word out there that home birth is an option. Enjoy. Welcome, Amy, to Birthing at Home, a podcast.
Thanks, Elsie. It's an honor to be here. I'm super excited.
Yeah, thank you for joining me last minute. I really, really appreciate taking your time on a Wednesday morning. It feels so good for me to record without having to worry about kids screaming in the background or, whatever. So I'm really happy to be here. Are you able to start off by telling the listeners a little bit about who you are, who's in your family, where you're located?
Sure. So before I start, I'd like to acknowledge I'm on Gubbi Gubbi country up on the Sunshine Coast. I've been here for about a year. I did grow up here, but have been away for about 15 years and have come back. And I have been in Sydney, Melbourne. I went overseas for a little bit, come back home, and I have 2 beautiful boys. I've got a 4-year-old Ezra and a 10-month-old Ryder, and my husband Andrew as well, who's from up here too.
Yeah, cool. And so you are sharing today the home birth stories of both Ezra and Ryder. And we were sort of having a bit of a chat before we were recording about how you found home birth. So you weren't planning a home birth initially with Ezra, but do you remember the first time you heard about home birth, or do you remember prior to, being pregnant with Ezra, knowing much about birthing at home?
No. And if I'm honest, like the first meeting I had with a midwife, so I went through the public hospital in Randwick, and I got into the MGP program. So I knew a few friends who had gone through that program and had a really positive experience. So I tried to get into that. And I actually didn't get in, but then I got a last-minute call-up when I was about 14 weeks pregnant, I think. And when I had my first appointment, I said, they asked what did I have a birth plan and all of those things. I was like, I'm just going to go with the flow. I now know that that's not a great way to approach birth, but I was reflecting on this yesterday when I was 21 and I worked at a hippie store in St Kilda. One of my colleagues had a baby and she had a water birth, and she was explaining it to me, and I'm like, that sounds amazing. I want to do that one day. Yeah. And so that was the only ideal thing I had about birth was I'd like a water birth, and she told me about the birthing centres and things like that. So that was it. Yeah. And it was actually my midwife at the hospital when we were talking about different things. He actually mentioned in our first appointment, have you thought about a home birth? And in my head I was like, I've never done this before. I live in a rental apartment in Sydney. Yeah. And I thought, look, maybe, but not for my first. Sure. I wanted the safety of being in a birthing centre. Yeah. So it was close to the hospital, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. And he said to me, everyone lives in a rental apartment in Sydney. So
true.
So don't let that
deter you. Yeah.
And he was really encouraging, which I thought was really great because he did work in, now I know what I know, like he worked in the public hospital and things, but he really, I guess, challenged the system whilst working within the system.
Yeah, wow.
And, encouraged me to be open to it. He said, you're a really great candidate for a low-risk pregnancy. I was 30 at the time.
Yeah.
I think I'm like, how old am I now? And, and I guess I wanted a natural birth, which, most people do, but so I was like, oh, okay. Wow. And I flagged it with Andrew when I got home from my appointment, and he was like, oh, his first question was, what about the mess?
Yeah, that's so common. Oh.
And if you know Andrew, he's like so clean and tidy.
Yeah. It's like just imagining like blood smears and poo and water and
I mean, he's never been to a birth before at that point, but he was pretty apprehensive, but he wasn't like, no, he was like, oh, like, how's that going to work? Anyway, I was like, look, I don't think for this time, but it got me thinking. Yeah.
And so 14 weeks, you said, was with that midwife?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And so we were saying before we recorded, so Ezra was born in August 2020?
Yes. So pretty much halfway through my pregnancy was when COVID hit the world and we went into lockdown. Yeah. And everything was a mess. That experience really influenced, I guess. I've always been someone, I'm a social worker, worked in community mental health, suicide prevention.
Oh, cool. Yeah. We have a very similar job.
There you go. Yeah. And I guess I love research. I love learning about different things and making informed decisions. Yeah. And I guess I went down. I hadn't really done that with birth before I got pregnant. Yeah. But I think so. All of the normal offerings around workshops and antenatal classes and things were closed down through the hospital because of COVID. Yeah. So women were left to our own devices, really. To source out information. Yeah. And that ended up being a positive for me. I joined a Facebook group that was for like pregnant women 2020. Yeah. I think her name was Peter, the woman. She's based in Brisbane. And she's a doula.
And so this was just to clarify, because I was also a part of one of these random groups, but it was actually associated with the homebirth group Australia on Facebook. So this particular group that you were a part of was completely separate from homebirth.
Yeah, it wasn't about, it was just about supporting women because all of the generic support that were available were no longer available. Yeah. And she organised different people to do like a Facebook Live on different topics. Like there was one on baby wearing and all different things. And I watched one with B from Core and 4 Restore. And that just really resonated with me, just her way of viewing the world, her like passion for research and things and evidence-based stuff. And just it was just really refreshing to hear someone. I guess I'd like seen a little bit just through the page around home births and things, but I feel like B's approach was like, no, like the evidence shows how like safe it is, how it's actually like the best place for a woman to give birth is where she feels safe, and continuity of care, and like it all just made a lot of sense. And so. Then I watched her. She was doing Facebook Lives throughout COVID, free antenatal classes, and my husband and I watched them, and I just felt it just completely changed how I was viewing my birth. Like I was no longer go with the flow. I was actually like, no, I want to know what I'm actually doing. And I've run a marathon before. Yeah. And B actually said in the first one I watched about like you don't go into a marathon without training and preparing and just rock up on the day. Yeah. And giving birth is like the biggest marathon of your life. So. Yeah. And I mean, you can draw so many parallels, I think, to really hard endurance things like a marathon because, it's not just about the actual like
running or like the motion, but it's like the nutrition and the mindset and all the strategies that you're going to employ.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And knowing your body, I think that's the biggest one. Like, I think even in now, I start, like, I know, like, I'm good at head stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm good at thinking and over-analysing and all of that, but actually, like, kind of going into your body and understanding how your body's feeling and what's happening in your body and learning about the body and learning about the physiological side of birth and how, yes, it's painful, but it's not pathological pain. And it just, like, all of those things that really helped me in my labour and my birth, but also more than that, like, my ability to sit with my body and understand what's going on is so much better now than what it was before I had babies.
Yeah, 100%. And so with the MGP, so they could also, because not all MGPs offer home birth, but this particular one did.
Yeah, they did. And Andrew Bisits, he's in, what's that? There's a documentary.
Is it
Birth
like
Time?
Yes, yeah. Does he do breech or twins?
He does, but he's the head of obstetrics at Randwick.
Oh wow,
and
yeah.
He's an advocate for home birth. So I didn't know all of this until like
yeah.
And so I was quite lucky in the sense that I was at a hospital, my local hospital, that was very pro home births and really tried to, create opportunities for women who wanted it to be able to access them.
Cool.
At the same time, there was still quite a lot of red tape. Like, you didn't get signed off until you were 37 weeks. You had to tick all these boxes. Yeah. So I also okay, so hang on, I'm going to backtrack a bit. So
that's all right.
My midwife at my first appointment flagged it. I was like, maybe not this time, but I'd be open to it in the future.
Yeah.
But I'd said I'd like to, my preference was the birth centre over the birthing suite at the hospital.
Yep.
And I wanted a water birth because of the story
of course.
I heard when I was 21.
Yeah. Duh, in the hippie shop. It wasn't like in Ackland Street, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh my gosh, I used to live behind Ackland Street. I think maybe I know this store that you're
probably
talking about.
Chakra. I'm pretty sure it's still there.
Yeah, like near the corner, like near the tram stop.
Yeah. Up there, not Ishka. That was our arch nemesis.
No.
Chakra is like a family-run one. They have one there, and they have
with is it like near steps? Like there's very narrow steps. Anyway, I used to live behind Ackland Street, so that's really funny. We really have like followed each other along the East Coast.
What year? You might have
No, and not that long ago, like five or 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. Yeah.
I was there 2009 to 2012.
Yeah. Anyway, tangent. So you're wanting the birth centre over the birth suite. Yeah.
And whilst this is all playing out, I was educating myself more on birth. I also, one of the other Facebook Lives was with Catherine, who has the birth map book.
Oh, Catherine Bell.
Yep.
Cool.
So I bought her book.
Yeah, of course.
So I went from like go with the flow, whatever, to like no,
let's map it. Yeah, that's awesome.
And once I'm interested in something, I hyperfixate.
Yeah, me too.
I'm all in.
Yeah.
So I was listening to things, reading stuff, and I don't know. I guess I, not in a bad way, but took control of the process in that I wanted to understand my body, understand birth, understand the system.
Yeah.
So not so I could control my birth, but so I was empowered in the process. And I guess that the thing that came out of it was, you don't know what your labour's going to be like. You don't know what your birth's going to be like. There's no way in all the preparation in the world, at the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen. But I wanted, like, for me, equipping myself with the information and knowledge that well, if certain things happen, you know, I may need to go have an emergency cesarean.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to my care provider. I understand why, and I understand like the process and the things that may happen that lead to that.
Yeah.
And because trying to do that when you're in labour and things are escalating is impossible. Like you're in your, you're in your stress response, your trauma response in the work that I do.
Yeah.
There's no way you can make decisions in that time. And often we are in those situations, we're forced to make decisions, and there's no way we can make an informed decision. So having those conversations with care providers and with my husband and things beforehand, really, I found really helpful for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, I did a bit of a swing during my pregnancy.
Yeah, it's pretty common with home birth. That's awesome. And so at what point, because before you started recording, you said that the birth centre, something happened.
Yes. So I was educating myself on birth and labour and the body and things, and then I can't remember when it was exactly, but I remember one of my appointments later on. So I was past 20 weeks. Yeah. And my midwife, he said to me, because of COVID, the hospitals had to change, like the birth centre is no longer an option because they've had to repurpose it for something else. Yeah. So
that's just wild. Sorry. That's just like, what the heck? Yeah.
And also, there was like my husband couldn't come to any appointments with me from then. He did come to the 20-week scan, which is good, but he didn't get to meet my midwife until I was in labour, because my midwife was meant to come the week before, but he and the entire MGP group that I was in all were close contacts for COVID. So when I was like 38 or almost 39 weeks, and I got a call and he said, I have to like isolate for 5 days.
Oh my God.
Like, go into labour, what does that mean?
Yeah, what the heck?
And so another midwife from a different group came and dropped the pool and all of that stuff off. But yes. So it was definitely an interesting time to be pregnant and give birth and things. But
and so how many weeks do you reckon it was when you switched or had to, I guess, gladly switch to home birth?
Make the decision.
Yeah.
I think I probably was about 26 weeks.
Yeah.
28.
And I mean, it wasn't really, it's not much of a choice. It's like hospital or not hospital.
Yeah, and I guess because the birth centre, from what I understood, it was like that in between.
Like a happy medium. Yeah.
But because I started doing the research and going on that journey, it was a no-brainer for me to choose a home birth at that point.
Yeah.
The more educated I became around birth, around the system, around our bodies, the more home birth felt more aligned for what I wanted, because I was low risk.
Sure.
And I guess, well, what does low risk mean as well?
Yeah.
But I'm like thinking of Amy then.
Yeah.
I felt confident in that. And the fact that my midwife as well was such a, like, encouraging me to do it as well, I think that was really positive. Like, if he hadn't have said it at the start, I probably wouldn't have had the confidence to really explore it. So I think particularly as first-time mums, our primary care person for our birth has such an influence on how we approach it.
Yeah. I am going to ask, just because I know listeners will also have this question on their mind. So did you have a male midwife?
I did.
Yes. And are you able to, before we jump into the birth story with Ezra, are you able to give a very short sort of I don't know, review's the wrong word, but how was your experience with like a male midwife, especially being a first-time mum? what was your experience like, especially because knowing your second birth was with the beautiful Beth, quite different. Like, yeah, are you able to speak to that?
Yeah, and I mean, there's not many male midwives around.
No.
So I'm also mindful I don't want to give away who it is in case, not that I'm
no.
Beautiful.
Yes, yeah.
It definitely was I guess an interesting initially, but I guess because I hadn't had given birth before, I didn't have anything to compare it to. Also, a few people were like, oh, of course you have a male midwife. Just like I've got a brother and a dad. My mum passed away when I was a teenager. So, like, I've always been surrounded by men.
Male energy.
Yeah.
And you have 2 boys.
And I have 2 boys. Like, I'm like destined to be a boy mum.
Yes.
I have beautiful girlfriends too. Like, it's not, So, it was a little bit weird, but it didn't feel weird. I didn't make it weird, I guess.
Yeah.
I will say the energy now I've had a birth with, like, Beth. I mean, there's so many different factors to the difference, but the energy is very different. Yeah. When you have more, so, with my first, I had my husband Andrew and my midwife, who was male. They were the 2 main people. Yeah. I ended up having 3 midwives at my birth.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And even that, like, one of my, surrogate mothers, because the other 2 were female, and she was really like, like having that female feminine energy in birth. And that I ended up having 2 extra midwives who were female. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, okay. Because usually it's only 1.
Yes,
usually you only have 1.
Yeah, interesting.
So, like, if you want to play into it, but I guess, like, it's definitely different having a midwife, one who's also given birth. Yeah.
I mean, that's another factor too. Yeah.
And then, someone who is a male. But I don't know. I actually, he was really well respected, and it, like, really challenged things and was a huge advocate for home births. And
fascinating.
All of that. So I actually, I think, it ended up being really positive for me. Yeah.
No, that's cool.
I think. It was hilarious. And it was good. The same last. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Never mind. The same last name as me. So we're all family.
Oh, that's so funny. It's kind of like freaky, especially when we talk about male energy and like siblings and your dad. And anyway, you could really overthink that whole situation. But that's really cool. Thank you. And there aren't a lot of male midwives out there. I was doing a report for Home Birth Victoria recently and looking at the stats of midwives, like private. I think it was all midwives actually in Australia, and the percentage of male midwives are very, very low. As a student midwife, I remember working with a male midwife, and he was also one of, like, the seniors, which in some ways is ironic. But anyway, that's a whole other thing.
Well, and that was the same with this as well.
Yeah. I could say so much, but I'm not.
We did. I had many conversations with him about the patriarchy.
Yeah, I was like, the patriarchy! How are you still winning? Anyway, cool. Thank you for sharing that. So how many weeks were you when you started labour with Ezra?
Started labour
roughly
39 plus 3 or 4. No, 39 plus 4. No, gave birth the next day.
Yeah. And in, the week or 2 or whatever before that, did you have any signs that labour was going to start soon, that your body was preparing or anything like that? That you remember?
The day before I did.
Yeah.
And I'd been getting Braxton Hicks for weeks. One of the things that I really loved in that pregnancy, I had very different pregnancies. But because we're in lockdown, so I used to travel a lot for work. I worked in regional and remote communities across the country. Yep. Doing community-led suicide prevention initiatives.
Sweet. Yep.
So, like, the year before, I did 42 trips in the year.
Whoa.
So COVID was actually a blessing for
Slowed you
me.
down. Yeah. Yeah.
Because the thought of doing that when pregnant, that would not have happened.
Yeah.
And one of my colleagues, or she works somewhere else, but like for one of the communities, she actually said to me, enjoy these I think I was about 34 weeks at that point. She was like, slow down and enjoy it, because this is the last time you will not be a mum. Like, you were going to be a mum for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
This is the last kind of moment. She said being a mum is amazing. She had teenage kids.
Yeah.
But really, like, allow yourself to, like, spend time with yourself, slow down, like, just really nurture you.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad she gave me that advice, but also that I listened to it. Because it really, I just was in this really beautiful headspace. And allowed myself to slow down, which I never really did that anyway.
Yeah.
And through like a lot of unlearning and reparenting, and that's like another story.
Yeah, that's
have unpacked the why, but I was always like go, always surrounded by people, didn't like being alone, like people pleaser, girl, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And actually giving birth and going through birth was probably really significant in my step to unlearn a lot of that. A lot of that, like, people, if you go into birth like with that good girl, people pleasing mentality, you're not going to have, it's going to limit your capacity to have an empowering birth.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking about others and what they want, what your care providers want you to do, all of that. And I think that can really, that impacts on how we feel about ourselves and our birth. During and after. And so giving birth really helped me to be like, holy moly, like, I'm amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I did that.
Yeah.
And like that flow on from into my everyday life as well. So.
Yeah. Did you like do anything like in particular to like relax, or especially because it was like peak COVID? I know for myself personally, I in those last couple of weeks I had all of these grand plans, but because of lockdowns none of them were able to happen. Did you do anything in particular to like bring yourself in or ground yourself in those last couple of weeks?
Mainly go to the beach. So that's
beautiful.
That's my happy place, going to ocean swims and things. Obviously it was the middle of winter, but I still would go in the water. Actually that was, I went for a swim the day before I went into labour, and it was free. It was August in Sydney.
Sydney is so cold. Yeah.
Not as cold as Melbourne. But,
but it's still pretty cold.
But I remember when I went in the water, and like usually my stomach would tighten because it was cold. But it was. I was like, oh, like I think that felt a little bit different. Like, have I just like brought on labour?
Yeah.
Just going down to the water, doing grounding in the sand and things like that. Like that was, that was really good. And I guess I would usually, I'm a runner, but obviously I wasn't running 37 weeks. I would always run on my own, but if I went for a walk or something, I'd always go with a friend, or like the only time I would throughout my life be okay being alone was when I was running.
Interesting.
And I actually hated running with other people.
One
time when we were dating, my husband and I went for a run, and he was like, never again. Like,
you were uninvited.
I was like, stop talking. Like,
Yeah.
But I've definitely, like, that changed, and I actually enjoyed, and now really enjoy, time on my own.
Yes.
And space, and learning. And even now, like, I used to always have to wear headphones and listen to music or something, whereas now often I'll go for a walk or a run and not have anything and just listen to the ocean. And actually Layla Stone, shared a story on that I think it was a few months ago about how she had been starting to do that too. I'm a lot better now at being with myself.
Yeah.
And I do feel that my process around understanding birth and labour and our bodies and all of that has really helped me in that and helped me to really be comfortable in my own body, really.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's powerful. I'll definitely go back and find, was it like a podcast episode or something with Lael Stone?
No, I think she just shared it on her story.
Oh, I'll try and suss it out. Yeah. That's a really beautiful reflection. And so Ezra, so you went to the beach in the afternoon, and then labour began that night, or?
That I went to the beach for a swim, and then that night probably. I think it was around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I started having contractions, and then I had them all night, just like they were there, but they weren't significant, but it did interrupt my sleep. I didn't wake up, Andrew. I was like, this could be for days. And I actually did, I can't remember her name, but she used to work at the hospital in Randwick, and then I think she went out. I don't know if she was still working privately as a midwife, but she did antenatal classes. Yeah. And she actually ran one, like a small one, condensed, like at her home, and it was around the corner from my house. So we actually got to do that. And that was really good because she understood the hospital system. And essentially she said, as soon as you get to the hospital or contact the hospital, you essentially have 12 hours. Yeah. That the hospital will give you to give birth, and if you haven't given birth in that 12 hours, they will intervene. Yeah. Regardless of if there's anything wrong or not, that's like the unspoken rule.
Yeah. Well, they got staffing to organise and they got beds to organise. It's a business.
And that was really good. And she taught, and it was good as well. I have a hilarious photo. Andrew had to pretend to be the baby, pretend to be the birthing woman in she did little what do you call it? Role play skits or role play. And there were 3 other couples. It was a really good day. But she talked a lot about the cascade of intervention and all of that kind of stuff. And I had I'd already through the antenatal online things gone into that, but it was nice to have it in person with props and things. I guess it made it, and also she'd worked in that hospital, so she knew that the policies and the systems and things like that. So she said something, and she's quite blunt, but it was good. She said, when women say they were in labour for 72 hours, you would be dead if you were in labour for 72 hours. And she talked about, pre-labour can be days and days and days, particularly for your first. But she was active labour, it should, I can't remember exactly, but she basically was active labour won't be any longer than, I don't know, I think it may have been 24 hours or something. You probably know more than me.
Interesting.
I'm happy
I don't know those stats specifically, but that's interesting. I'll try and find something and link it in the description.
There was, I guess it was backed by She was saying, yes, you may be in labour for days, but it's pre-labour. And so, and that was good mentally because I was like, okay, yes, I'm in labour and I'm having contractions, but this could be for days. And I think that really helped me mentally to, it's okay if it is for days. Yeah. That doesn't mean there's something wrong.
And
I found that information helpful.
Yeah, I guess it influence mindset and the power of your mind during labour in itself is such a powerful thing. And especially at night time, I don't know about you, but in both of my labours at night, labouring at night time, it kind of feels like it is just you. And so I think like that might like, you know, having a really positive mindset, like this is normal, it's okay, I'm okay. You know, my body's doing exactly what it needs to be doing to prepare to like birth this baby is like such an important thing. Like as opposed to freaking out and being like, oh my gosh, this should be happening, XYZ. Yeah. Panic. That's completely unhelpful. So at night time, you were just sort of, you know, going about your own business.
Yeah, trying to sleep and all of that. And then in the morning, so in the morning, I think it was about 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, I said, when Andrew woke up, I was like, oh, I've been having contractions all night. Yeah. I called my midwife and told him, and he was like, yeah, like you're doing the right thing. Try rest as much as you can today. Maybe go for a walk, like just eat well. He was like, it definitely sounds like you're in labour. Like, you know, this is going to happen. But just call me once things ramp up, essentially. And then it did. So I kept having contractions off and on all day, but not like it often does during the day. Like they did slow down. And then I actually I had a friend come over, who was my like second support person. If it ended up being a long time, I had someone to take over Andrew. If he needed backup. And she was coming over anyway because we were studying at the time and we were meant to do like a case study role play thing. And so she came over, and then it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and my contractions were getting like, they were still really far apart but way more intense, like stopping me in my tracks kind of thing. She'd had a baby before. So at that point I called my midwife again, and he said, I'd probably put your TENS machine on soon. I had a TENS machine. And I was like, this early? He said, yes, because he said most people like hold off, but then it doesn't work because the way, like, it's actually better to have it on early. I was like, oh. So I put that on. That was amazing.
Cool.
Really, the TENS machine was amazing. And then I remember Andrew made steak for dinner, so I had steak, and then I vomited it all up.
Brilliant.
An hour later.
Oh no.
That was lovely. And I vomited so much in labour. So my labour ramped up around that, like 8 o'clock at night. The following night. So it had been 24 hours of pre-labour, I guess.
Sure,
One of the things that I had in my birth map, and spoke to my care provider, I didn't want to be checked. I didn't want my cervix, like, dilation and stuff to be checked unless there was, like, we felt like there was something wrong or something. Like, I just wanted to be left through, like, all the education and things. I knew more about the other signs that your body's ready. And my midwife did too. I wanted, like, a hands-off experience unless there were things that we felt were happening, and then it would be like they wouldn't just do it. They'd be like, hey, this is what we want thinking, this is why. And Andrew was a part of that too, because I knew I'm going to be in labour, so I really need him to be the sound person. And he was great. He was an amazing support person. About 8 o'clock then I just vomited and vomited and vomited so
That's always
much.
A good sign, as much as it sucks.
And I think it was like 11 o'clock, and Andrew's like, oh, should I call? And I'm like, no, don't call. Because I was like, especially with a home birth, I think they give you 9 hours before they call it.
Wow. Okay, it might be like an MGP thing.
We talked about it before. I was like, what's the rules? The hospital policy. And yes, I'll be, you know, at the end of the day, it's my body. I get to choose all of that. And at the same time, I'm like, you know, they do have hospital policies, and I want to be aware of them. Beforehand.
Absolutely.
And yes, so I was like, I just wanted to hold off as long as I could.
Yeah.
And then at about 1 a.m. I had another like vomiting, diarrhea, like all the things.
Yeah.
Really intense contraction, and I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Now.
Like, okay, that was full on.
Yeah.
And so then they came, and then the pool was half full. So when they arrived, I don't want to say their name, but
should we give them a name? What name? I don't want to say a name in case it's actually their name. You can give him a name.
When the midwife.
The midwife. Yeah.
He did the checked heartbeat and stuff, my blood pressure and everything, and then just sat on the couch and let me labour. Cool.
Yeah. Were you in like active labour then when he had arrived? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So he called the second midwife to come pretty soon.
Wow. Okay.
Within the hour.
Yeah.
And then it was about. I think he arrived about 2.
Yeah.
The second midwife came pretty like half an hour to an hour after that.
Yeah.
And then I went into the pool for a bit. Like I just kind of moved around. At about 6 a.m. I started to feel the urge to push.
Yeah.
And no, hang on, 6:30. I think it was 6:30. I think my baby is.
If you need to go check, that's completely fine.
I think he'll come and get me if he needs to.
Okay.
And about 6:30 in the morning. So I got in the pool. And this is the thing around getting in my head too much. So because I had all this knowledge,
yes,
in my head, I was still in my head.
Yeah,
I wasn't in my body.
Yeah,
and so I was like trying to push, but something was stopping me from fully letting go.
Yeah.
I was now I've done so much more, and I know I've already talked a lot. My second birth was very different.
Yeah.
Obviously, also my body hadn't done it because I went to a women's health physio, and my pelvic floor was quite tight.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of work in the last kind of 2 months, like lengthening, really, trying to relax it and things.
Yeah.
So, and that's really common in runners. And
I was going to say, is that from running? Yeah.
And Pilates and things.
Yes.
Like they're not bad things, but a lot of women who are active do have tight pelvic floors.
Yeah.
And so I was about 32 weeks pregnant when I went to a women's health physio. So I didn't know that beforehand. So but and whether this is right or wrong, like she had said to me, she's like, if you want to have a natural birth, you're going to have to do a lot of work releasing and relaxing because you're really tight. Now I'm like, that wasn't a good thing. It
wasn't very helpful. No. Okay. Yeah.
From a mental.
Yeah. Yeah. So at 6:30, what kind of thoughts do you remember, if you remember having?
I just remember when I would push, his head was there, like you could see the top of his head.
Yeah.
But I'd have a contraction and I'd push, but he just kept going up and down my birth canal.
Yeah.
And so we tried it in the pool, tried it over the toilet, tried it over the bed. I was all around the house for an hour.
Yeah.
But I just remember it was like a fear thing, like a fear of tearing, a fear of I'm still too tight, like all of those things. And so I wouldn't push or wouldn't let go rather than push. Yeah. Fully to allow him to be born.
Yeah.
And yes, so it had been over an hour of that. And then my midwife's like, look, and I knew the policy, if you've been pushing an hour, they have to send you back, you have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And he said, look, it's been an hour, 15 minutes, I think. He said, I'm going to have to call the paramedics.
Wow.
But we're going to he's like, you're going to have this baby here. It's going to happen. But he's like, I can't.
Yeah.
Because I guess it's like his registration's on the line.
Yeah.
And I understand. He said, nothing's wrong. Baby's good. You're good. I was exhausted, but I was good.
Yeah. There's just
I
the
vomited
policy.
so much. And part of it was also I had no energy. Like, I vomited.
Yes.
Like, I was so depleted. I hadn't slept for 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, I was just, like, done physically.
Yeah.
Mentally, I was fine. I wasn't worried. I wasn't... Yeah, like, I knew that I was fine mentally and, like, physically. I was just tired and exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
And so then, I didn't know this, but Andrew turned our buzzer down.
Oh, so like the doorbell. Oh, no.
We wouldn't hear them.
Oh, no. That's a bit of a trick.
Oh, hang on. My Siri started talking again. Anyway, so he turned it down. But he also didn't want me to be interrupted too.
Of course,
so,
yeah.
At that point, we went into the spare room, bedroom. And also, like, at that point, I was on my back. And there was the third midwife had already rocked up. So I had, like, 3 midwives.
Yep.
And I was on my back. I had a midwife with each leg. I'm like, this is not how you're meant to give birth.
Yeah.
This is the wrong way. But, like, because, and now I know different things, like, hindsight, they were doing the best they could as well. And so, I was trying to push in that position. I had a lolly. I said to Andrew, can you get me a lolly? Like, because I was just so exhausted.
Yeah.
I had a lolly.
Yeah.
And then tried to push again, and it was so close. Like, it was like his head was like almost half out.
Yeah, well, so close.
The paramedics came.
Yeah.
They were in hazmat suits because it was
because of COVID. No.
And they were in the kitchen, but the midwife was like, "There's no way we're transferring her now. Like, she's there."
Yeah.
And he said to me, he said, "Look, you were so close." He said, "I think we should do an episiotomy."
Okay.
For the next contraction, and then he said, and that will allow the head to crown.
Yes, sure, yeah.
And he put, like, numbing cream and stuff, and I was like, okay. And at that point I was like, okay. And yes, so that's what, like, so he did that, and then he crowned, gave birth. Yeah. It all happened. It was all fine. Paramedics were still in the kitchen in their hazmat suits.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. That's crazy. I'd never actually even thought about that because in my first birth, there was also, like, talk of paramedics being called for, like, different reasons. But I'd never reflected that if we had have had to call the paramedics, that they would have rocked up in a full PPE. Yeah. Oh my gosh,
like,
that's
mask,
crazy!
Like, suits,
yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, wild. Holy moly! And what was your third stage like with Ezra then?
So I, in my birth map, had said I wanted a physiological third stage.
Yeah.
And then because of the episiotomy and because I'd been pushing. So it had been over an hour and a half.
Yeah.
The midwife said, look, I think we should do the injection because of the risk of PPH and all of that kind of stuff. And at that point, honestly, I did it. I was like, yep.
Yeah.
I was so done.
Whatever. Jab me. Yeah.
Baby was on my chest. Like, they didn't cut the cord or anything. Yeah. So Ezra at the time, we didn't know he's. Oh, also they put him on my chest, and we're like, oh, like, what is he? Because
yeah.
Like, oh, it's a boy.
Yeah.
And yes, so had the injection.
Yeah.
Placenta came out all fine, and then paramedics went home. Thanks. Everything's fine.
Oh, goodness me.
Yeah.
Wow. And So you said that your pregnancy in particular with Ryder was different to the pregnancy with Ezra?
Yeah, I had HG for half of it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot harder.
Yeah. With the episiotomy with Ezra, obviously, I mean, no one ever expects an episiotomy, but in the time between Ezra and Ryder, did you feel like that brought up anything that you had to work through, like mentally?
Massively.
Yeah. Are you able to like speak to that like a little bit?
Yeah. I know we've gone way over, but
that's okay. That's all right.
Yes. So my recovery, again, didn't know any different, but I could barely walk for 2 weeks, and it was super painful, and I had quite significant raised, like sensitive scarring.
Sure.
But women's health physio was amazing, so I ended up getting. It took about 6 months, but it ended up healing really, really well.
Yep.
But I still. So I had 4 years, almost 4 years between births.
Yeah.
But I was still like, one, I didn't want another episiotomy, and I guess I also realised part of the reasoning I had an episiotomy was a policy that around like how long
time limits
is acceptable.
Yeah.
To push. And that the paramedics were in my kitchen wanting to transfer me.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So, like, there were a lot of different things outside of what was happening in my body that impacted on that. I don't regret it, and I don't feel like I was coerced. Like, I think, like, I'm okay with how it played out, but I also am like, hindsight, but like different things and even different positions and stuff. Like, having your knees in and your like legs out, like all those different things I didn't try. And mentally as well, that feeling of like feeling safe to let go and safe to like release. I still had some stuff that I was holding on to from my own, nothing to do with birth and labour, but from my own like lived experience in life and different things that have happened that impacted on my ability to feel safe in my body.
Yeah.
And so, different factors, but I was fearful. I really like about needing another episiotomy. Yeah. Or that my scar would like, I'd be more likely to tear or to like all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So that was definitely playing on my mind a bit. Yeah. So we moved to Queensland when I was 4 months pregnant. Yeah. I had gotten back into MGP in Randwick, and then planned another home birth. So when we moved to Queensland, they didn't have publicly funded home births. So I went on the hunt to find a private midwife. Yeah, yeah. And found the beautiful Beth.
Yes.
I can say her name.
You can say Beth's name, yes. And Beth is, she was one of my teachers when I did midwifery for a little bit, only as a student. But she is also in one of the midwife episodes on the podcast, so I'll make sure I'll link that because she's good value, Beth.
She is. She's beautiful. And so, and she came recommended from someone else I know as well. But very different process because obviously when you go through the hospital, you don't get to pick who your birthing team is or anything. You're also not paying for it, so it was a significant investment. Yeah. So I interviewed midwives. Yeah. Like I googled what questions to ask midwives.
Yeah, I mean, but that's how it should be. Like you don't go to you can just go to any GP, but I think for most of us nowadays, like, you're asking for recommendations. You want to find the right GP for you. It's the same with psychologists. Like it's so many things. It makes sense that you would be able to choose the midwife that you feel makes you feel safe and is going to be able to support you, has the right values. So I think that's fantastic.
And it was one of the things as well. I did actually meet someone through that Facebook group who is a good friend of mine now, she planned 2 home births but was transferred for both.
Yeah.
But that was really, like, it was nice to have a friend.
Yes.
That was, like, on the same page as far as home births and things go.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons for her second birth that she got transferred was because her primary midwife was at another birth when she went into labour. And so that was one of the questions I asked Beth and the other people I interviewed, like, how many women do you have?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Because caseloads and stuff like that can really play into it.
Yeah.
And that was a big reason why I went with Beth, was because she only had 2 women per month. Yeah. And a lot of the others had, like, between, like, 3 to 4 or 5, sometimes 5.
Yeah.
So that was a question that I wouldn't have thought of if I hadn't have had a friend who'd had that experience.
Yeah. And so when did the HG kick in with Ryder? Do you remember?
Oh, that was before that. So
okay.
From about 6 weeks.
Yeah. And so it just continued on until
it lessened in severity. So it was probably about week 10 to week 16 that I could barely get out of bed most days.
Yeah.
I couldn't work. I couldn't even look after Ezra. Like, I had to get friends or people to look after him most days, or Andrew had to not, like, come home from work and stuff. Like, it was really debilitating.
Yeah.
And I'd been sick a little bit with Ezra, but I'd have a few bad days, whereas with Ryder it was like 24/7 day and night. I just was either really nauseous or, like, vomiting, like, violently.
Wow.
And that was really hard. And then within that we also decided to move states. We had 3 weeks. There were a few different reasons. Our rent was going up. It was, like, Christmas time and everything, and we were like, either we wait until we've had the baby or we move now. We're like, well, let's move now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it was so intense. Like, when we got here, I slept for like 4 days. Like,
gosh.
I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
And was staying with my in-laws, and it was only meant to be for a month, but it took us 4 months to find out.
Oh my gosh! And so you arrive at, like, 4-ish months, and then because you were saying as well before we recorded that you'd found a house, like, very late, and you actually didn't end up moving into your home for your home birth until you were 39.
6 days before.
Yeah.
6 days before.
A home is pretty essential for a home birth.
Yeah. Yes, I had a midwife.
Wow. Yeah.
And I don't think my in-laws were too keen on the home birth happening.
It does happen, though. I've had stories where it has happened. And so maybe are you able to, like, you've sort of spoken a little bit about it already, but what do you feel were the biggest differences between having a private midwife and having a midwife in, from the publicly funded system?
Yeah. I'd say the level of care and the personal relationship.
Yep.
And I acknowledge that Beth, like, she can't be best friends with all of her.
Yeah.
But you form this really beautiful connection and relationship. And I didn't have that with he was great. Yeah. But I've spent way more time with Beth. She took way more time. Like, the appointments weren't rushed. I went to her house for them because I didn't have a home.
Yeah.
She came to my house once. She came to my in-laws once, but it was just a bit awkward. Like, they don't really have it. They didn't have a private space I could go with.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just easier for me to go to hers. Yeah. But I would say the aftercare was the most beneficial, particularly being my second. Yeah. And Andrew was caring for Ezra. And it coincided, my in-laws were sick, so they couldn't look after Ezra or help us out. Yeah. So it was really intense, and I'm recovering from birth and all of that, but Andrew couldn't be there for me. the
Yeah.
way he was with my first, because we had another child that needed care.
Of course.
and
Yeah, yeah,
support
yeah.
For many reasons. We'd moved, he had a baby, like it was like a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
For a little person. And so Beth, I felt really nurtured and held by Beth in a way that you don't get in the public system.
Yeah. I think that's a brilliant way to put it. And yeah, part of that is that whilst like private midwives, like it is like they're like small business, you know, to have to, you know, be a private midwife, it's like so totally different to the hospital system. It's like the hospital system is like a beast of its own, like the layers and the hierarchies and the policies and just the enormity of it is, well, it just doesn't work.
It's a machine.
Yeah, it's a machine. It's so totally different. But that's a really beautiful reflection. And I love Beth, so maybe we're biased.
I think we're going back to what we were talking about before with the episiotomy and all that stuff. Like, so I saw a women's health physio earlier.
Yeah. Cool.
As soon as I moved up to the coast, that like my first two things was find a midwife, find a women's health physio.
Yeah.
And Beth recommended Ocean, who's up in Noosa, Alchemy. I think a lot of women up here see her.
Cool.
And she actually has a course around perineum massage, and she's like a huge advocate for all of that stuff. So we actually had an appointment with Andrew as well, and that was like so awkward, but like she showed him how to do it, and like
Well, it's like you know, when you're very pregnant, it's hard to do things. So 100%.
He was really great about it. But we were living at my in-laws at the time, so to be honest, it didn't really happen. And so I was so stressed that pregnancy, like trying to find a house, living with my in-laws, like it was, and then I was stressed that I was stressing because I was like, this is impacting the baby, and then I'd be more stressed and overwhelmed, and I was so depleted. My iron, I ended up having an iron infusion at 37 weeks because I was on liver and spleen tablets and all the things, and it was just going down and down and down.
Wow.
And I was so tired. I barely exercised, whereas my first one I exercised all the way through. Like it was such a harder pregnancy. Yeah, I didn't like being pregnant. Whereas the first time I loved it.
Interesting.
And yes, so I felt I was super anxious because I'm like, I haven't been able to mentally prepare and slow down and do all those like things like I want to because of lots of reasons. And then obviously, like also the stuff around the episiotomy and things. Like I'd had big chats with Beth about it, and I don't think she's ever had to do, like she's ever done one. And that was a good indication as well, because I didn't realise like the stats around episiotomy for that particular hospital were really high.
Interesting, yeah. So,
you know, there's all these different things that you learn about, like statistics around that really are like we need to listen
paint
to
the
those.
Picture. Yeah.
If a hospital has like a 70% episiotomy rate, well, that shows that like it's not a reflection of individual midwives, but it's like that's what their process is. Like that's what if things aren't going a certain way, that's their answer. Whereas often private midwives will try all different types of things and support you through different things before going to that. And yes, so but there was still, I guess, like that mental thing. And then I think it was 37 weeks, and B was doing a webinar on birth trauma. Like around episiotomies. Third and fourth degree tears. So I registered for that and I watched it. And that was really good. One, because she talked a lot about more around stuff around like your like how the safety you feel, the felt sense of safety you feel when you're giving birth.
Yeah.
With the people who are there and within yourself as well.
Yeah.
As that being like one of the key factors around preventing like tears and episiotomies and things. But also one, like the thing that came to me, which that resonated for me, was our bodies are actually like designed to tear, like make space for a baby to be born.
100%.
And to not fear, like I had a fear of tearing hugely in my first pregnancy. And that was one of the things that was stopping me from being able to fully release when he was trying to come out.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a common thing. I mean, that's also like a whole other tangent, but it is so common for, especially because what you say is like our body, like the tearing is like, that's how it's designed. It's making space. It's not pathological.
And it can heal, and
it heals better usually than episiotomies. So
so that my experience with my second birth was, I did tear. I know there's lots of different factors. I had a water birth, which was beautiful.
I didn't even think about that because, oh my gosh, going back to hippie shop in St Kilda, you just wanted a water birth. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay.
So the labour was very different. Oh my God, he was posterior. He was actually breech up until 36 weeks as well.
Wow.
So there were lots of different, I guess, complications.
Yeah.
My pregnancy with Ryder, and that's another reason I was really thankful to have a private midwife, because if I was in the hospital with all those things, I probably wouldn't have had a home birth. And so, but he turned at 36 weeks, which was great.
Clever baby.
And then so when I had the urge to push, I got in the water and literally like, I was still a little bit in my head, but more in the sense I was like, I wasn't scared of tearing. Yeah. I was like, I know, I'm gonna I guess I'm gonna allow my body to do what it needs to. Yeah. And I trust it, and I trust the people around me. Yeah. I trust that they also know if I need support. Like I really I know they're not going to intervene unless it's really necessary. Yeah. I'm not bound by a hospital policy or that kind of stuff, but they're also, like, for me it was important I had like midwives there that if, you know, things did go wrong, that I would go to hospital or they would do the things. Like, that was important to me. Yeah. And yes, so I started pushing.
Before we go to pushing, how did labour with Ryder start? And also maybe like one of my other questions is because this also comes up sometimes as well, because I mean, I had the same experience. Why do we always move when we're pregnant? I don't know. Like, that somebody can unpack that. But so you're with your in-laws until like 38 weeks, and then you move into your new place at
39 weeks. Yeah,
39, and that would have been so stressful. Like. Yep. You know, because like at 38, you're kind of like, well, labor can happen anytime. You already had a baby like before 40 weeks. So like, what's going to happen? Did you feel like you could, like, were you even unpacked? Like,
so pretty much. We had like really great friends. I'm going to get right.
Yes, hungry. Go for it. So did you feel like, so you'd unpacked and whatnot? So
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And because we sold most of our furniture and everything when we moved from Sydney.
Of course.
So we started buying like a few things, but we didn't know what house we were moving into, so we didn't want to buy too much. So it was like as soon as we signed the lease, we had 10 days to like get a house full of furniture.
Yeah.
But and I had some beautiful friends come over on the Saturday, and like one of my friends, she like cooked a whole bunch of like nutritious food.
Wow.
She'd been living in a Hare Krishna village and like doing a lot of the cooking in the village. So she made all this and then they just helped me nest, I guess.
Yeah.
Which was really special. And then we have like family up here as well.
Yeah.
So
it all came together.
It all came together, and literally the day I went into labour, it was a Wednesday, it was the first day I felt, I felt like I was waiting. Yeah. Whereas before that I was like, don't come.
Yeah.
We're not ready.
Yeah.
Stay in.
Yeah.
And that day I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what to do now. Like I'm just So I took Ezra to playgroup that morning because I'm like, we probably won't be able to do this for a bit. And then got home from playgroup, and then I lost my mucus blood. Yeah. And then started having contractions that afternoon. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And then we'd organised a support person for it. So I had a Birth is Magic. I don't know if you've heard
that. Yes. Yeah. Beautiful book. I have it
that.
Literally here, actually, just right next to me.
Yeah. So, and Ezra loved that book. He would always talk about the womb room and the placenta. And
so good.
So we wanted him there for the birth, but also had grandparents as backup if it was a bit much for him. Yeah. And I had a friend who was there, lined up to be support for Ezra. Yep, cool. But my labour was mainly at night, and so it ramped up at about 9 o'clock at night, and Ezra was in bed. So we were like, I'll probably labour overnight. He'll be fine. He sleeps through. Yep. But of course he didn't that night. Yeah. So at midnight he came out, and I was in labour, and he was like, "Is the baby coming?"
So cute.
And we were like, "Yes, but it could be a while, so go come back to bed." And then I needed Andrew because he was pushing on, so it was our rider was posterior, so I had a lot of back pain. But the TENS machine wasn't working, and all the things that I had the first time weren't working. Yeah. And then Ezra didn't want to go back to bed without Andrew and stuff, so then we called my friend Kelly to come, and Beth came around the same time. Yeah. And so, but then I was in labour. It was active labour, but it was pretty intense, and Beth lives an hour from me. Yeah. So she said call as soon as when we called, and she could hear me, and she was talking to Andrew. She was like, "Yeah, I'm going to come now." She sounds pretty close. But then I just stayed like that for hours and hours and hours.
OP baby.
and my waters hadn't broken. It was just the second midwife ended up going to have a nap.
Yeah.
I vomited a lot again. Yeah. But then my waters broke at 6:40, and I'm like, okay, now hopefully things ramp up and it's going to happen in the next few hours. Yeah. But then the next contraction felt the urge to push. Oh, well. It went from
but sometimes they say that the breaking of your waters just does something to the position and just plop. Yeah.
So then I was like, I need to get in the water. So I got in the water. And next contraction, his head crowned. But then, and I was giving a running commentary. I don't actually remember doing this. And so his head crowned. And then I was like, it feels like it's going back in. And Beth was like, that's a sign of a shoulder dystocia. Yeah. And then the next contraction came, and I was pushing, and I'm like, it's stuck. I was like, it's stuck. I can't, it's, not, I'm pushing, but it literally felt like he was stuck. Yeah. And so she ended up, because she was standing back, and then she came in, and he had a shoulder dystocia. So she kind of just maneuvered him a little bit, and then he came out.
Wow. Okay. But
she said to me, because I was giving a running commentary, that really meant that that helped the situation because it meant it didn't like become this big thing, because I know that shoulder associates can be quite traumatic.
Yeah. So she was able to support, adjust that process like whilst you were still in the water and on your knees.
Yeah, I was on my knees.
Yeah.
Andrew was in the water too. So I was kind of on my side on my knees. So I had my head on like the edge of the pool.
Yeah.
On all fours, but almost like she got me. I was kind of on the like half on the side.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like one leg up kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so she could see. And then
Brilliant.
She literally just got her hand and I don't remember this.
And just does it. Yeah.
Wow.
And
able to.
Yeah.
And then he came out.
Wow.
And so it was like 15 minutes.
Wow. Yeah. And so you did tear, did you say?
Yes. So stayed in the water for a bit. I planned to stay in the water to birth the placenta.
Yeah.
But then I was starting to get cold and like my blood pressure was dropping and stuff. So I got out of the water and I went on the couch with him.
Yeah.
He did the breast crawl and fed and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then I tried to go to the toilet. I don't know how long it had been. It had been a while, and I was feeling really crap.
Yeah.
And my blood pressure kept dropping. And then after 2 hours, and it was really low, and so both midwives said, look, and I hadn't birthed the placenta yet, and I couldn't do a wee either.
Yeah, okay.
And they said, look, your blood pressure's really low. It's been 2 hours. We're pretty, like, we think, like, we need to get this placenta out. I know you wanted a physiological first placenta, but I think, like, you know, you're running the risk of getting transferred for PPH.
Sure, yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And I really felt bad, like really horrible. I can't even explain the feeling.
Like physically?
I felt not good in my body. I was like, something's not good in my body. And so I was like, yep, do that. So oh, no, that's right. And then before they did that, they were like, your bladder's full. And but I couldn't wee. So then they had to put a catheter in. Yeah. To drain my bladder. So that was pretty horrible.
Yeah.
Experience. But like it was over, but it was just after giving birth, you don't.
No, you don't want anything going back up there. No. It's a different hole, I know, but like.
Still that region.
That area. Yeah.
And then gave me the injection and placenta came out and I instantly felt better. My blood pressure went up. Like it was,
wow.
It was like, yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
So that was good. And then checked and they actually said I had second degree tear, but it was internal.
Yeah.
And it was quite a clean tear. They said that would actually heal without sutures.
Cool.
But you'd have to keep your legs together and lie down for 5
Yeah. And especially with not just a baby, you've got like basically a 4-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like almost 4. So I opted for stitches.
Yeah.
But the healing, like I had no pain. I had really bad afterbirth pains.
Yeah.
They're way worse the second time.
Yeah, so surprising. Yeah, I don't even think I was expecting them. And I was like, wait a second, what is this?
This is next level.
Yeah.
But like, that was horrible. But after that, so it was like 2 days.
Yeah.
But my perineum and things, like barely any pain. I could go to the toilet fine. That was such a different experience to the first time.
Yeah.
And it made me realise, like, wow, like episiotomy healing is a lot harder. Than tearing.
Yeah.
From my experience anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
I think also with tearing is like, I mean, this feels like logical to me, but like your body's not going to do more than it needs to, like, but with a tear, like with a episiotomy, like the person making the cut is in control of like
how
far, where, like,
Yeah.
you know, in charge of all these things, and it's not like it's completely disconnected from your own body. Yeah, I think that's an important thing to think about when you're thinking about tears versus episiotomies as well. But that's fantastic. I think it's just like so fantastic to hear a story about like shoulder dystocia and it being resolved in the pool. Sure, that's not like, you know, sometimes they're quite severe. It's not like, you know, not every time, but it's like fantastic and obviously such a different experience, especially because, like, you know, when it gets to the end with shoulder dystocia, you usually do end up on your back, but like, ironically, like with your first birth, you ended up on your back and it wasn't for a shoulder dystocia. Yeah. So like, it's just, like, go figure.
Yeah, I definitely felt more, and this is the thing, my pregnancy was horrible and I was really stressed and anxious, but my labour and birth experience, I felt more able to like release and let go. And empowered. Even though I did feel empowered in my first, like I think the different things I was still holding on to in my first that I'd worked through and like started to heal and things. Yeah. Meant that experience was a lot. Yeah. And I don't know, Beth is just this beautiful soul.
Yeah, she's yeah, magic.
And that's the thing, like who you in not that again, like it's not I didn't have a negative experience in my first, but I guess the energy from Beth and the person she is and how she shows up in the birth space was so different.
Well, just knowing Beth, I feel like it's just like two completely different things.
So who's in your birth space is like I hands down that has the most impact on your experience.
Yeah. Like amazing stories. Thank you so much for sharing, Amy. And Ryder is just chilling. I feel, how old is he now?
10 months.
I feel like when that was like Frankie, he was just like playing with my headphones. Like I used to try and record when he was that little. Oh my gosh. He's so cute. Oh my goodness. Look at his beautiful hair. Hi.
Hi, what's going on?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to talk about or anything like that?
No. I don't know.
I mean, we could go on so many tangents. I should create a whole separate podcast for just tangents.